For this edition of the textbook, I personally created over 3,000 short videos to insert into the e-text. Let's go over the different types and how to find them. Begin by clicking on Start Here. Pick the chapter and section that you're working on, and click the link to the e-text. On the first page of each section, there's a link to a live video where an instructor works through one or more examples from each objective in that section. Also on the first page, there's a link to the prerequisites videos where I list the different prerequisite skills that are needed for this section, provide a quick reminder about those skills, and talk about how they'll be used in the upcoming section. As you make your way through the section, you will see the icon with the arrow in it that leads to a video of some type. Next to an objective, this is a concept video. This video will explain the background for solving systems of equations using the addition method. There is at least one of these videos for each objective, but in some cases there are more than one, and you'll find this icon throughout the section. Some of the concept videos incorporate the graphing website desmos.com to help students develop a greater understanding of that type of graph. For instance, this concept video from section 11.4 deals with graphing an absolute value function by shifting. The video goes through and first explains the basic graph. Then I go through and discuss how to graph this function by shifting. And then we turn to desmos.com, where through the use of sliders, I demonstrate the effect of h and k on the graph of y equals the absolute value of x minus h added to k. Each example in the book has two related quick check exercises that go with it. There are icons that lead to video solutions for both the example and the quick check exercises. One way that I use these in class is I'll put up a video for the first example, and I'll play it just far enough until the problem itself is left on the screen. Then we can solve it together in class, and I will fast forward to the end of the problem so we can see the problem all work through. Then I will open Quick Check Part A, show the problem, and ask my students to solve it without my assistance. Then we'll discuss the problem on the screen, and then we'll move on and do the same thing with Quick Check Part B. Sometimes I ask my students to race me, so I'll start the video while they're working on it, and when they finish, they can look up to see how they've done. In many of the example videos or quick check videos that require graphing, I include the steps to graph the function using the MyMathLab graphing tool. For example, example 1 in section 11.3 begins with a by-hand walkthrough of how to graph this function. Notice I found important points, I plot them by hand on the graph, and list the domain and range. Then, as the video advances, I include the steps for graphing using the MyMathLab graphing tool. Select the parabola tool, plot the vertex, and plot one additional point. As students are learning to use the graphing tool in MyMathLab, I've found it to be really helpful for them to have a video example of just how to use that tool. Each exercise set in the end of the section concludes with 4 reflect questions. These questions will ask your students to reflect on how well they understand the material presented in that section. I often print these out and bring them to class, put them on an overhead, and ask my students to discuss and share their responses.